can see my scars, cause I'm wearing them proud. Even with my broken parts, I feel better now. If I could crawl in the mind and give any advice to my younger self, find something you can hold on to. Find someone who'll be there for you, cause that's all that really matters in the end. Find somewhere you can come home to. Find someone that'll die for you, cause it's all that really matters in the end. It's love, love, love. Cause it's all that really matters in the end. Cause it's all that really matters in the end. It's hard to tell the truth when you lie to yourself. Always give too much of you to someone else. I'm talking to you now like we're old friends. It'll never be too late to start again. Find something you can hold on to. Find someone who'll be there for you, cause that's all that really matters in the end. Find somewhere you can come home to. Find someone that'll die for you, cause that's all that really matters in the end. It's love, love, love. Cause that's all that really matters in the end. Find something you can hold on to. Find someone who'll be there for you, cause that's all that really matters in the end. Find somewhere you can come home to. Find someone that'll die for you, cause that's all that really matters in the end. It's love, love, love. Love, love, love. Because that's all that really matters in the end. It's love, love, love. Love, love, love. It's all that really matters in the end. Cause it's all that really matters in the end. Cause it's all that really matters in the end. Learning how to live when there's no one around. It's like learning how to feel when the drugs run out. You can see my scars, cause I'm wearing them proud. Even with my broken parts, I feel better now. If I could crawl in the mind and give any advice to my younger self, Find something you can hold on to. Find someone who'll be there for you. 'Cause that's all that really matters in the end. Find somewhere you can come home to. Find someone that'll die for you. 'Cause that's all that really matters in the end. It's love, love, love. 'Cause it's all that really matters in the end. It's hard to tell the truth when you lie to yourself. Always give too much of you to someone else. I'm talking to you now like we're old friends. It'll never be too late to start again. Find something you can hold on to. Find someone who'll be there for you. 'Cause that's all that really matters in the end. Find somewhere you can come home to. Find someone that'll die for you. 'Cause that's all that really matters in the end. It's love, love, love. 'Cause that's all that really matters in the end. Find something you can hold on to. Find someone who'll be there for you. 'Cause that's all that really matters in the end. Find somewhere you can come home to. Find someone that'll die for you. 'Cause that's all that really matters in the end. It's love, love, love. Love, love, love. Because that's all that really matters in the end. It's love, love, love. Love, love, love. It's all that really matters in the end. Learning how to live when there's no one around. It's like learning how to feel when the drugs run out. You can see my scars 'cause I'm wearing them proud. Even with my broken parts, I feel better now. If I could crawl in the mind and give any advice to my younger self, find something you can hold on to. Find someone who'll be there for you. 'Cause that's all that really matters in the end. Find somewhere you can come home to. Find someone that'll die for you. 'Cause it's all that really matters in the end. It's love, love, love. 'Cause it's all that really matters in lie to yourself. Always give too much of you to someone else. I'm talking to you now like we're old friends. It'll never be too late to start again. Find something you can hold on to. Find someone who'll be there for you. 'Cause that's all that really matters in the end. Find somewhere you can come home to. Find someone that'll die for you. 'Cause that's all that really matters in the end. It's love, love, love. 'Cause that's all that really matters in the end. Find something you can hold on to. Find someone who'll be there for you. 'Cause that's all that really matters in the end. Find somewhere you can come home to. Find someone that'll die for you. 'Cause that's all that really matters in the end. It's love, love, love. Love, love, love. Because that's all that really matters in the end. It's love, love, love. Love, love, love. It's all that really matters in the end. Cause it's all that really matters in the end. Learning how to live when there's no one around. It's like learning how to feel when the drugs run out. You can see my scars 'cause I'm wearing them proud. Even with my broken parts, I feel better now. If I could crawl in the mind and give any advice to my younger self, find something you can hold on to. Find someone who'll be there for you. 'Cause that's all that really matters in the end. Find somewhere you can come home to. Find someone that'll die for you. 'Cause it's all that really matters in the end. It's love, love, love. Cause it's all that really matters in the end. Cause it's all that really matters in the end. It's hard to tell the truth when you lie to yourself. Always give too much of you to someone else. I'm talking to you now like we're old friends. It'll never be too late to start again. Find something you can hold on to. Find someone who'll be there for you. 'Cause that's all that really matters in the end. Find somewhere you can come home to. Find someone that'll die for you. 'Cause that's all that really matters in the end. It's love, love, love. Cause that's all that really matters in the end.
Okay, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. I want to be sure that I can be heard. Annie, please confirm. Can you hear me, please? Please confirm that. Annie, confirm. Can you hear me, Annie? Let me know if I can be heard. You're muted. You are muted. Annie, I'm waiting. You're muted still. You're muted still. I think I can be heard. I can see the sign here that I can be heard. All right, I will just jump right in. But Annie, just test your microphone. Let's start with that. Hello. Whoa, I can't hear you, Annie. Are you saying something? Mm. Whoa. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. It will be right for me to get this right before we jump in. Hello, Annie. Can you hear me? Okay, I can hear movement there. Can you hear me, Annie?
Hi, Pelumi. Good evening.
Good evening. How are you doing?
I'm so sorry. I'm doing good. Thank you so much for this time with you. Um,
Okay. I wanted to check if you can hear me, so that's fine. If you're watching this right now, I see we have some persons already watching at the moment. I welcome every one of you to this session. We had an incredible time in April. I had a friend of mine, Chuka, share thought as to how to create wealth at this point in time. Solid points shared. If you were not in that session and you can watch me right now, I would just share the link to that video in the comments so that you can go and watch. So much was said. We had such a brilliant exchange of thoughts last month, and we're here this month again. I'm here with somebody I believe would impact us a lot. She's going to be speaking on building a sustainable brand. But before that, I would like to do a bit of introduction of our guest today. She is someone I have known for how many years now, Annie? How many years now?
so it was
uh,
YPB
oh,
2019.
yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. It was, and I've seen her do
So
amazing,
almost
amazing
five
stuff. When I
years.
pop up Yes. When I pop up, I think our profile is on the screen at the moment, and you can see that Annie Oluwatobi Tiolu. At the time, she was not married at the time. She's married now with a kid. Well, it's all right. So she is a HR professional and digital strategist who founded the organization and it consult to provide talent development and HR consulting services to our clients across the globe. With her first book publication at the age of 21 years old, she strives within her core skills as an administrator, recruitment specialist, performance appraiser, and digital strategist. She spent her time developing talents through our initiative, Learned Academy. We started in 2018 as a voluntary project and constantly collaborate with foundations and projects, and is currently offering skills development to public high school students in Nigeria and students in South Africa through her book. She is a fabric creator who enjoys finding solutions to gaps and making an impact based on our guiding principle, Ubuntu. She lives in Nigeria and is a resident of Lagos and an indigene of Ibadan, your state, a master's degree holder with a background in HR and industrial psychology, as well as managerial psychology. Her purpose is to lead, advance, network, nurture, and enrich talent. She does this through her organization, which is focused on maximizing potential for success. She works with startups and foundations to develop strategies for betting ideas for sustainable businesses. When she's not working, she spends her time on adventure trips, reading, cycling, swimming, listening to music, watching movies, car racing, and designing. She's a versatile leader and talent developer whose goal is to help talent maximize their potential for successful life. She is happily married, a new mom with the mantra nothing is impossible. Annie, I'm glad to have you on the show today.
Wow. Wow, that was
All of that for
amazing. That
you.
was, I felt like I was on, CNN, and I was
Hey,
hearing my
come
profile
on,
being read to the globe. That
come
was
on.
amazing. Thank you so much for doing
Awesome, awesome.
justice to my profile.
Mm-hmm,
Thank you.
mm-hmm,
It's a
mm-hmm,
pleasure to be here, and I'm so
mm-hmm.
thankful that you considered, my wealth of knowledge to share to, our global audience and your online platform as well. So thank you for that opportunity, Pelumi.
Yeah, awesome. Welcome. Now, you're going to be speaking to us today about how to build sustainable brand. And in my search before this time, I found out some top brands in the world. I realized that we have top brands in the world. I may not be able to share my screen to show their names, but you have Apple there. You have some of the top companies that we use their products, and many of them have been on ground for a long time. And it calls for it piques my interest, my curiosity to ask why, how come these brands have remained on top. Let me just give me a moment to check for the top brands, just call them out in the world, and also in Africa. I checked for Nigeria. I realized I saw Dangote there, I saw MTN there, I saw Glow there, and all of that. And you would wonder how that these brands they've been on top for a long time. I mean, from way back, the name I've always heard of Glow, I've always heard of MTN, always heard of Dangote, and it just piques my curiosity to ask how these brands have been able to build their identity so much that and they are still striving today. Now, if you're watching this from wherever, I do not know what time zone you are, wherever you are, and those who will see this later, for as long as you have a product, as long as you believe you stand for something, you are a brand, you have a brand. And this conversation today, Asani will take us through, will help us understand how to build a brand that is evergreen, always relevant in today's time and even in the future. So Annie, over to you now.
Thank you, Pelumi, for that brief into brands that are called the big giants of the world. And one of the things that I would always say is that these brands started from where they were, and it started with one person or a group of people that were founders. So typically, if you look at Facebook, Facebook is one of the most amazing brands that you can come across that is now Meta, right? And if you can look back at your first encounter with Facebook, you'd realize that Facebook started as just an idea in a room with a group of guys, if, a core, Mark Zuckerberg and his friends. And you wonder the way that Facebook transcended through time and has now become Meta. Right. So you've mentioned Google, you've mentioned Coca-Cola, you mentioned MTN, Dangote, Glow, and every other brand that, most of us have come across. But one thing is striking, one thing is important to know that being a brand is beyond just building a business for the now. It is building a uniqueness that transcends time and can go from one generation to another. With that in mind, it's important for every individual, every founder, co founder team of people coming up with ideas, birthing new products and services, to focus on how to not just start for the profit of it, but to sustain it across generations. And I will always tell my clients, if we're working together, we are thinking about the next 100 years. Can your business last a century? If it can't last a century, just like most of the brands you've talked about, Coca-Cola definitely has gone past our mothers, our forefathers, and Coca-Cola is still standing and is still being known to the world. It's still very relevant. So how did Coca-Cola get here is what we'll look at. How did, all these brands get here is what we'll look at today. And I'm hoping that whatever knowledge we share would transcend to your business and will be adequate, in making that impact in the globe. Over to you, Pelumi.
I would just let you ride on the slide you have on the screen right now, and just share your thoughts as to how individuals watching this right now can build their brand enough to be able to be sustainable over time. But before that, I want to give a shout out to Michael. Michael is watching.
Okay,
Also,
so
a shout out to Mutsunayo. Do out to share the link of this video to everyone you know alive, and that anyone you know alive today to watch this even live as we do it. Over to you now, Lana.
all right, perfect. So hello everyone present and everyone who's gonna watch after. So we're looking today at how to build a sustainable brand. And the focus for me is to take you from how you can not just birth your idea, but to think sustainable, to think the next generation, and we're yeah, I'm a brand manager, PR manager, I run this, we're just simply saying, I am representing something, I'm showcasing an idea that came out as a business, that came out as a service, that came out as a skill or a person. So we look at the music industry, for example, you like Davido. Davido, the name Davido is a brand. Okay, you look at is a brand. And so first to understand every time the next person or all the um position this business minds of customers or your audience or the recipients of whatever it is you're offering, brand positioning. And before
Okay, I'm guessing Annie's network is not exactly the best at this time. But if you're watching this, um, do well to share the link to everyone you know who should be here today. She started by sharing ideas as to the fact that every time she wants to work with a client, she tends to look at it from the perspective of how how do we work together to ensure that your business is relevant even in 100 years? Because some people just get into business without even looking at the future. Just like getting married, it's not about the wedding. Today is Saturday, for instance. Some people just think it's about the wedding. We'll spend all our money here today. We're going to buy a shoebi. We're going to get a big all of 2 million naira. And after that day, there is no plan whatsoever as to what will go on in the marriage. And it also applies to a business as well. You're not just going to a business or setting up a brand, maybe a fashion brand, maybe whatever it is, whatever brand you want to set up. You're not setting the brand up just so that you can suit the moment. You can do stuff in the moment. You are setting that brand up because you are looking at the future. The future is a thing, actually, because if all you do is for the moment, what will happen is when that moment passes, and every moment comes to pass, when that moment passes, you will run out of ideas and you'll be kicked out. And so it's important, like he was saying, it's important that we all set up our businesses in a way that transcends time. And
Are
I'm just
you
going to allow
the
Annie take it up from
person
where
who
she
is
stopped. I
the
guess it was network that kicked
creative?
you
Are
out,
you
Annie.
the creative, or are you the propeller of the business? Right? So now, if you as a person, human capital, is standing as the beginning of this business, says, "Oh, I'm the propeller," it means that you would now think to yourself, am I going to have a team of people that will come physically to a location? Or am I going to create a virtual team? Or am I going to work with consultants? You have to start to highlight the structure, the hierarchy, the organogram, and every other thing that comes with team building. There's a lot more that team building involves that we won't be able to touch on today. But then what is key for you to understand when building your team is to start from you as the person who birthed the idea. And if you're more than one, you're a group of two people in a partnership, 3 or 4 or as many. Who are you people? What is your value? What is your vision? What is your mission? And what are your objectives? In understanding these things, you are able to now drive the team to where you want your brand to be. Now, we're going to move so fast today because it's a lot of different aspects for sustaining a brand. And I would like you to now look at the next part of team building. So we are going in that clockwise direction. We're looking at succession planning. Now, when you say succession planning, because I talked about team building, I talked about how you can put together a structure, an organogram, or an hierarchy. In that structure, in that group of people, which we call human capital, you need to now think, who is the person that we're going to pass on the baton to? That is simply succession planning. You always have to have a spare. You cannot because as we are in the fourth revolution and in the age where AI is now taking over, there is no way that the entire world will be wiped out.
All right. I'm guessing Annie's network is trying to deny us of the opportunity to to learn today. But I think she started by talking about the you can see on the screen what you have there. You have team building, you have succession planning, you have to plan for the future. Somebody is saying, should I write my will now? Should I just write my will now? We're not saying write your will. We're saying that you want to plan for your business. Because if you want your business to outlive you, then you must plan before time. Has anybody seen the movie Chief Daddy? If you have seen the movie Chief Daddy, you just point it there. Chief Daddy. Annie, welcome. It feels like your network is not very, very strong. Yeah, we missed out on
I'm
what you
sorry.
said about
It's
team
quite.
building. Yeah, so we missed out on what you said about team building. You can just start from team building and then take it from there. Thank you.
Oh, I'm so sorry about this. I've tried to make sure that this is avoided, but unfortunately, I wouldn't lag. I'm thank you for the time and for filling up. So, in summary of team building, I mentioned that in building your team, you have to understand what your vision, your mission, and what your objectives are. And when you are able to do that, then you can structure out your team and build the hierarchy, and then cause the entire, if you are just one, fine, you know that, okay, I'm driving this business, but there's the real several departments, people function several capacities, and their understanding of your vision, your mission, and your objectives will drive the strategy that you want to achieve over time in the business. Now, it's important when building your team to ensure that as you grow through all the stages of business, there is you will see that there are people that you cannot carry along in the business when the
Okay. Networking in Nigeria can be very, very disappointing. But just to carry it from where she stopped there, she spoke about team building, how that you need to build a team. You cannot run a business that you think will be sustainable without having a team. So the first thing is to have a team. The second thing, like she said, is to have a succession plan. And before she joined in, I asked if anybody has seen the movie Chief Daddy. Seen the movie Chief Daddy, just let me know in the comments. Chief Daddy, a movie where you have, I'm trying, let me see if I can even get the flyer. I'll just project it. A movie where a particular man had many wives, and before he died, he had met his lawyer to distribute his property there, and that he did. And that just tells you about why, even at the point that he even did that, there was still an issue. There was still they still had many issues during his burial reception and all of that. Imagine if there was no will. Imagine if there was no will. So succession planning is a very important part of building a brand that will last. The third thing she was speaking on was on the idea that one has to get to the point where your product is quite different. Now, when you talk about owning a brand, that's why people have logos, and having a logo doesn't mean you have a brand. Having a logo doesn't mean you have a brand. Some people can have logos, for instance, and then think they have a brand, right? But having a logo doesn't mean that you have a business that can strive. Doesn't mean that you are even known. You have an identity. So owning a brand, meaning that you are in a market full of many people, but yours stand out. Was it 3 years ago? I had a session with someone who happened to be a friend, and he's out of the country now. And he spoke about how to own a brand. And in our conversation at the time, this my guy happened to be somebody who is a graphic designer. And in that conversation, he shared as to the fact that many times, the reason most businesses don't last is because they did not take their time to draw up what makes them different. And if you're somebody who every every business around you that looks like the business you want to do looks exactly like the kind of business you want to do, or looks exactly like the idea you have in your head, you will not go so far. Now imagine you want to bust to the scene in the telecommunication world, and then yeah, Annie is back. Annie, what's up?
Oh wow, this is quite interesting.
Okay, so are we good now?
Oh yes, thankfully have multiple networks that I'm connecting to, and I believe that we'll be on a better pedestal henceforth.
Okay,
Really apologize
okay.
for the glitch.
It's all right. Now, just so that the persons who will watch this later won't have to wonder why we had that break. I'm guessing that you might need to just run through again. I hope this sounds very nice. You want to run through again from team building and take it up from that point. Can you do that?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch you.
Okay, so I said that just so that the persons who will watch this later won't wonder why we had that break and all. I want to request that if you can do a kind of a quick rundown again from team building, because it feels like this network.
Oh
It
yes,
sounds
of
right to
course.
my ears.
I would.
All right,
I
please.
would go
All right.
back again and
All
again
right.
until we get it
All
right.
right. All right. Then. So
Okay.
take it up now.
Is this loud and
Cool.
clear?
It's clear. It sounds better, and I'm happy. Cool.
All right. Thanks to a brand that promises better for internet services. I will not mention the name. But yeah, so thank you for tuning until this point. Uh we were just looking, at team building and what makes up a team that lasts, generations. And one thing I highlighted before the break was the importance of letting your team know what the vision, the mission, and the objectives of your brand is. You cannot drive the vehicle of your brand if you don't know the destination. The people that you're carrying as passengers cannot run with what you want to do, or the products or the services or the image that you want to project to your audience or your customers or the globe, if they don't even know the direction that the brand or the business is heading. And the reason I'm using brand and business interchangeably is because there are people that own businesses that cannot be seen as a brand. For example, the next time you step outside, look around you. You will see several businesses. But just as I highlighted earlier about what makes a brand, you can't really say these people are brands, right? Businesses, kiosks, your Malam, your many ideas like that have been birthed into products or services. But when you talk about a brand, you remember that I said there is a psychology to positioning your product or your service or your name or your skill in the minds of the people that you're offering it to. In conclusion of team building, it's important that you remove any member of your team that will cause a decline in the image or the representation of your business. And I explained in an example before the glitch that if you find that a member of team or a member of your group or of employees would cause a negative image of your brand, of your business, of your product or service, it's important that you get the HR professionals to work the right strategy to either lead to the exit, the termination, or the demotion of such member. Because like a practical example of a client I'd worked with who had a member of team that caused the company to go into bankruptcy and led the owner to have to deal with fraud cases because that team was not team member wasn't removed. So whenever you think of your team that you're building, think of a team that understands your vision, think of a team that understands your mission, think of a team that can run with your objectives, and think of a team that will transcend every stage of the business growth. On the business life cycle, there are members that cannot be at the peak with the team. They can't. You have to take them out. And there are people that you need to be able to rise to the peak, right? And so you can't remove human capital regardless of the fourth industrial revolution, regardless of AI coming in. There will always be need for mental capacity of humans to build and sustain a brand beyond generations. Now we're moving in a clockwise manner. We're looking next at succession planning. And why succession planning is because when we were talking earlier, we talked about how to sustain the business from one generation or from one time and season to another. So every time you are bringing people on board, you have to think people that can receive the baton. You have to think humans that you can pass the baton to, people. And then there's a system called the body system in certain big five organizations where, as young graduate trainees or interns are coming in, they are placed side by side with people that are already, they are the generation X people or the millennials, or they're placed side by side because they are observing them, they are watching them. It's called the mentorship system. And for succession planning, you are preparing the next generation or the next group of people that will take the business from ground level to the next level and on, right? So when you're creating the structure for a sustainable brand, as I mentioned, always think generational, always think succession, always think a team that transcends time. We're going quickly to differentiation. I don't know if anyone has come at the 5 P's of marketing. And because I'm a digital strategist, I'm gonna bring in a bit of marketing to this because you can't have a brand that is not visible. Okay. And for you to be able to differentiate your brand from other people, other competitors, other businesses that are offering the same products and services, you have to bring a uniqueness to the table. The reason why Oluwapelumi Awe is Oluwapelumi Awe, or the Oluwapelumi Awe, is because whenever anyone recognizes and sees or hears about him, they know that voice. That is what differentiates his brand from any other MC in the world. And it is important that when you're structuring your business, you always have to ask yourself, in the mind of my audience, in the mind of my customer, in the mind of my clients, in the mind of my investors, what will they use to say Coca-Cola is different from Pepsi, or Dangote is different from Bua, or MTN is different from Glow? And we'll look at, in branding, we'll look at brand positioning, we'll look at brand colors, we'll look at this, the type of font that you use, we look at the type of adverts and all of that. We can't look at that in today's conversation. But whenever you are trying to build a sustainable brand, always think, what uniqueness will this brand portray to my target audience or my target market? The next and very interesting part of it, as an administrator for over 17 years, and why I say 17 years is because practically I'd been in the business of hospitality since 2007. And what I discovered in this time is that every single thing to the letter, like to the tiniest detail, must be documented either in paper or digitally. But I advise digital because there could be fire, there could be theft, there could be any unforeseen circumstance. So whatever it is, from your business plan to your employee contracts to your external payments or receipts or invoices, or payments to government or agencies or suppliers, whatever thing it is, must be documented digitally. Whoever has maintained the paper system over time should start scanning. Put all your documents on Drive. Put all your documents on the software for business documentation management. You can always Google that for more help and information, but do not leave any stone unturned. And then for every document, please associate yourself with a renowned lawyer or a lawyer that knows the job, because the lawyer needs to serve as your inside eye, right? So your lawyers or your HR professionals, or whoever it is that is working with your brand, either as a consultant or a pro bono, or as a staff, needs to understand the terms of your business, the plan, and everything that you have put together and said, oh, this is for admin, right? So your documentation is important. And then before signing any contract, or before signing out any contract or putting out any communication, it is important that you check the fine print, look at it in detail, check that it meets the requirements by law. So in case there's any legal concern, you are exonerated and your brand is exonerated. Let's give a practical example. So say a musician and another musician, they come together and they want to create good music, and nothing was documented or nothing was put on fine print, and they come out and I saw a post about a few years back where one very popular entertainer got a message on Twitter from someone and said, oh, I wrote that song for you, and and you didn't give me credit, or you didn't pay me what is due. I don't know what happened, but then you don't want that kind of situation, right? So whatever it is, whatever agreement, there's no gentleman handshake in business. You always have to document it. You always have to have something that represents what you're trying to achieve. Okay. Now, there is no brand that exists without pros and cons. And I will look at just 3 pros and 3 cons of building a sustainable brand. First of all, looking at the pros, like this is the advantage. What are the benefits of building a sustainable brand? I'll give you an example of a real estate company that I encountered that clocked 30 years a few months ago. And one of the highlights of that celebration was that when the founder started 30 years ago, the person did not even imagine that an idea of just selling land in Lagos could become a multinational that has now gone from his time to his daughter and his granddaughter, right? So it's became a 3-generational business. That is an advantage, and that is what we started with. Whenever you're building a business, think transgenerational, think beyond yourself, think beyond the now, think what idea will be birthed that will go from one generation to another. Coca-Cola is what we said as an example that globally is still well represented. You can always use that as a case study. You can always go back to Coca-Cola and say, what did they do differently? Okay. The second advantage of building a sustainable brand is that you get to make profits. Like, you cannot build a brand that doesn't make profit. Even people that come together and say, oh, we are NGOs, right? Because I work with foundations rather, and with every foundation I come across, there's always a benefit, right? Even if it's not a profit making scheme, right? There's always a benefit. There's always a what is in it at the end of this for wherever it is that set up the project. So always think, oh, I'm doing this, I'm setting up this business, I'm putting blood and sweat and energy, putting all of the efforts to be able to make profits, to be able to add value, to be able to gain something that can now be used to continue to expand the idea or expand the business, or, I mean, put the person out on the global stage. And the third very important pro or advantage of building a sustainable brand is that you get to look back and see the impact that you have made across the globe, right? No matter how small your idea is right now, no matter how insignificant it seems to be, there will always be an impact aspect of it where you're touching a life or you're changing a community, you're building something. So I remember in 2018 when a team of my friends and I started the Initiative for Lanet Academy. And I remember it was just because during my NYC, I didn't think I was doing enough and I wanted to give back to the society. And then I started a skills empowerment program. And I look back between 2018 and 2024, which is about 5 or going to 6 years in September. And I see the impact that has gone from a group of 20 to 50 teenagers coming together to now a 10,000 students in high schools in Ibadan and of course in South Africa. And then I'm like, if I didn't do that, I wouldn't look back at the impacts. If at 21 years old, I didn't sit down to write the books I wrote, I wouldn't see the impact in people. Someone a few weeks back read my book and said, wow, did you write this at 21? I said, yes, I did. And they were like, wow, really? Okay, so there will always be an impact in whatever you do to sustain your brand. The reason why Pelumi can't say, oh, I'm the Pelumi Aware is because it's building a brand, and that brand is supposed to make an impact in every client's life. So for everyone, that listens to this, always remember that, very importantly, if you're building a sustainable brand, you're building for impact. And then we'll go finally to the cons, which are the disadvantages of building a sustainable brand. I'm not to scare you, but remember that even the roses have thorns, okay? And when you're building a sustainable brand, expect threats, expect competitors, expect those things. These are normal aspects. It's called the dog eat dog in the business sense, okay? And it's not something that will ever be removed from this as long as we are on earth. So as I said, always prepare, but make your documentation very concrete, because if you can patent your products, trademark your name, and do all those things that cover you as a business, then there's no fear even when those threats and storms come. Second is that you're, of course, going to encounter a team of people that you would have to manage, either with your team of professionals within the talent management industry, or manage with digital tools. But then what is important for you is you have to be unsentimental about managing your talent. You have to remember that you are building a valuable brand, and whoever is going to be on your team, always remember that if you can create an environment, a culture, or policies that will empower the people rather than take and drain them, then you will definitely achieve good outcomes. A practical example in the world would be Google. I will always want to reference Google because you will find Google to be a space that is not just about building products or solving world problems, but you'll go to their work environment and you'll find people living like home away from home. Why I said so is because I have two people working at Google, and whenever they relate their experiences to me, I would always wonder, wow, this is amazing, right? So whenever you're, building your team, expect that despite the fact that you would have so many people on there, you have to make sure that your culture is a culture that people want to come to. And as I mentioned when talking about team building, always remove the bad eggs. The final disadvantage of building a sustainable business is not a bad thing really, but it is be ready to give your all, your time, your nights, your days. Be ready to invest all your resources. Be ready to give your all. And this would eventually pay off because at the end of the day, the people that get the accolades, the people that get called upon, that get the awards and get the grants and get the profits that is, across billions. Like if you recall, there was one movie, the Jedida movie, and they're now the 1 billion gang because, someone stood and said, we could do this, built a team of people, came up with a nice script, and, you see it out there, even with the Hollywood and the Nollywood industry. But yeah, off entertainment, the con rather of building a sustainable brand. The third one is that you would have to put all your resources. You would hear no, right? You will hear no, expect no, let no be a normal thing. But in the end, know that you have started something that should transcend generations, and don't give up, along the way. Because if you start it, then you must see it through till the end. And as I always say, nothing is impossible. Now, to just touch a bit on our final, topic, which is the obonge, I would say, of this is digital marketing. And when you talk about marketing, I mentioned something about the 5 P's of marketing: the product, the price, the place, promotion, and the product. But now when you talk about digital marketing, you're looking at how do you position your product or your service, that is your brand, in the minds of people digitally using digital tools. I'm not looking at traditional marketing like billboards and banners and all. I'm looking at, oh, you're using a website, or you're using social media, or you're using email marketing, and all of those other things that we will not talk about in today's conversation. Look beyond what used to be normal and start to think, how do I get my customers to get AI to respond to them? How do I get my products to be packaged in a way that when people see it, it can be managed with tools online, right? So we have gone away from that age and we're now in this time, and we need to start to think of what tools can you use to position your brand in the minds of your customers that will make them come and this is called customer loyalty, come back and ask for more. And then word of mouth is actually one of the most effective ways of promoting your brand. So if you can convince Anne, for example, that a shower gel will make a hair grow, and you can do that within 2 seconds, and then Anne decides to try it, and then she is able to tell through WhatsApp and Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, just her community. Imagine what you can do with hundred thousands of other people like Anne. And you can only achieve this digitally. But one of the things that you have to manage in digital marketing is your brand reputation, because you don't want to promise what you cannot deliver. So, in summary of everything that we have looked at today, from team building to succession planning to differentiation to business documentation to the pros and cons of building a brand to digital marketing, one thing is vital: don't forget what your vision is. Don't forget what your mission is. And don't forget what you're set to achieve through your objectives. Because the goal of your business is not just to make profit and sell out, it is also to make an impact and go from one generation to another, making impact, building sustainable practices, and developing people while at it. So I hope with these few points of mine, I've been able to kickstart you into wherever you are at, whatever stage you're at in your business, either as a new entrant, or if you have started and you are still building, or maybe you are even, up to 20 years. I know that one or two points will definitely help you to build a sustainable brand. Thank you so much. I leave it over to Pelumi.
I don't know what network you switched to, but we should send them some accolades. Give them some accolades for ensuring that this session is so wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing all you have said. I took a bit of notes here, capturing some of the thoughts that you popped up when you were speaking. Pretty much about the part of making money. I think making money is very important, but also ensuring that one also considers making impact, because that's the thing. You have to People like to relate with humans who care about them, and once you are always about the money, people will run away from you. And the best thing to do to build a brand that beats time is to think about impact too every time you have the urge to make money. I'll give an example of Airpiece today. People say they charge a lot of money if you want to go from Lagos to anywhere, from Lagos to London. But remember that during COVID, Airpeace was that airline that volunteered to go pick Nigerians from outside the country to bring them back to Nigeria for free. I think they even went to some countries like France, I guess, to London, I guess, to bring people to Nigeria in that period when most people could not really afford so much. And that's to tell you about how that when you are a person who pursues impact, when you're a brand that is all about impact, because actually every brand is supposed to solve a problem. The reason you will come up with an idea, business idea, is so that you can solve a problem that exists. But if all you do is to chase the money, people will run away from you. And she has nailed it so well today. She's spoken about team building, spoken about succession planning, spoken about differentiation, spoken about business documentation, and also mentioned the pros and cons. One of the cons that got to me, if I had to write it down, something is pretty simple, but it's something that I think relates to life, relates to business, relates to brands, also relates to relationship as well. And that's the quotes, even roses have thorns. I went online to check the meaning with respect to brand, respect to relationship, and I realized that it says, Google says to me that it said this phrase implies, okay, so it says love is a rose with thorns. And the phrase implies that the beauty and joy of love are worth the pain and sacrifice. The beauty and joy of love are worth the pain and sacrifice. Meaning that, thank you very much, Temitayo, for applauding Annie and also myself. I guess that applause is for one of us. If you think it's for both of us, you can give me more applause. Just let's see what you have there. But the point there is that when you are trying to build a business, sometimes it's not very easy. You go through pain, you put your money in most times, you want to run project most times. You will wake up in the middle of the night to get things together, make it work. And it's only a matter of time before you start to get the reward of all the efforts you've put in. And you'll be shocked at how that your efforts will begin to pay off. It's been an incredible time so far, so good, from when we started to when we are at the moment. Muturayo, Temitayo, thank you for watching up on you this time. I appreciate you. If you're going to watch this even after now, do well to make comments. If you have questions to ask, put in the comments. I will respond to them. And if there's any question you want to direct to Anne, I would send to her privately and she would give a response. I promise you. But thank you all for joining. We're going to be having another one in May. We're going to be having a session in May. Okay, yeah, this is May. In June. And then when it's time for me to put out the advert, I will do that. But till I come your way next time, my name remains Oluwapelumi Awe, and I appreciate you so much. Thank you for your time. I appreciate you. All right, then we'll just play music, and then I sign out with this song. Thank you.
Matters in the end. Find somewhere you can come home to. Find someone that'll die for you. 'Cause it's all that really matters in the end. It's love, love, love.